So right now, Kansas City does not have a permanent city manager. Brian Platt is on paid leave after a lawsuit was settled 2 weeks ago in the wake of the Chris Hernandez deal. Chris Hernandez was a city employee with the communications team who insisted he was told by Brian Platt to fib to the media about some things that they were doing. And Chris Hernandez then found himself getting demoted out of it and then ended up suing the city. Chris Hernandez is not some hero that people make him out to be. Okay, he's not. I kind of expect I get lied to by my politicians. And Chris Hernandez, has longtime relationships with media in this town. I think people have propped him up to be some kind of hero here. And I just don't believe that he is. He made himself out to be a victim in a way that he's not. But that's neither here nor there. What's going on right now is Brian Platt is potentially going to lose his job as soon as this Thursday. That is when it's believed that the city of Kansas City, Missouri is going to vote on his future. And if Brian Platt does lose his job, race will play a massive role in this. You got to go back to when Brian Platt was hired. Brian Platt was hired in 2020. We all remember where the world was in 2020. I mean, people made George Floyd a saint. He was Saint George Floyd in 2020. We got rid of the Land O'Lakes Indian in 2020. We got rid of Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben in 2020 in some weird name of racial equality by removing these people from, these iconic packages was somehow going to create racial equality in America. We were a very stupid country in 2020. And Brian Platt came into Kansas City as the city manager as a young white male. And immediately he was on the receiving end, on the negative receiving end from many people in this town. And I'm reminded of this because I found articles. I was, just looking back on this time. I don't remember everything. But I went back to an article from last April of 2024. And it says here, group of black KC leaders petitioned to rescind city manager's new contract alleging racism. Now, the irony here is that the people who are alleging racism are actually the racists. Because when you go back to 2020, the Kansas City Star writes here that Brian Platt's hiring was controversial, as he was the least experienced and the only white finalist for the job. Of the 5 black members on the city council at the time, Mayor Lucas was alone in voting for his hiring and has been a staunch supporter ever since. So people literally on the city council, and I know this to be true, I know this to be a fact, did not vote for Brian Platt because he was a white man. You tell me who the racists are. You tell me that this guy has been behind the 8 ball with certain people on the city council because of his skin color. There is nothing over the last 4 to 5 years he could do to appease people on the city council because of something in his life he cannot control, and that is his own skin color. It's been going on now for 4 years. And there have been prominent organizations, Urban League of Kansas City, and many on the city council who have had it out for Brian Platt because of his skin color. If the Kansas City media wants to tell this story correctly, that is the story they will start telling about what's going on right now at City Hall with a suspended city manager. This is not about lawsuits. It's not about settlements. It's not about any of that. This is their excuse to get rid of this guy. And I'm not defending Brian Platt here in any of this because, I think that he's ideologically like-minded to me. He probably isn't. I don't know him, from that standpoint. But he's a city manager at a major American city. He came from Jersey City, New Jersey. They don't exactly breed MAGA supporters in these places. But he's done a pretty effective job as far as I can tell. He just had his contract renewed. He's in charge of street lights and potholes and snow removal and trash pickup. And it seems like for the most part, that job and those jobs and those issues have been trending in the right direction in this town under his leadership. So it's not about me defending somebody who might be like-minded to me. I don't know that to be true, and frankly, I would guess it's not true. But when you see an injustice happening and you see it being motivated by race, by the same race hustlers who insist everything around them is racist, when the real racists are staring them right in the face in the mirror, that I've got a problem with. And all the race hustlers in town are going to run to their media allies and they're going to basically use them for their backing. And that's not the story here. The Chris Hernandez settlement is a convenient excuse for those who have not liked Brian Platt since he got the job 4 years ago because of his skin color and nothing more. There are people who sometimes get gigs who don't have the most experience. And Quentin Lucas has talked about hiring Brian Platt. He was in his, early to mid-30s. He had come from the East Coast, and Quentin Lucas saw a lot of himself. He saw a young guy who was hungry, who had learned on the job, who could definitely have a very high ceiling for this job in Kansas City. And as far as I can tell, he's basically met the moment. Has he been perfect? No, but no one is. Especially in a job like that. It's largely a thankless job. But that's why he got it. And now they're using this as the opportunity and the moment to get rid of him. And the fact that it seems like, as far as I can tell and getting a sense on the city council, most of the city council is going along with this is an utter disgrace. If I were to be placing bets right now, I would say that Brian Platt is done as the next as the current Kansas City city manager. And trust me, when they hire the next one, they will hire based on race and gender. That's what they will do. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And that is inherently wrong, but a lot of these people, they do not care. They will scream about racism while being the racist themselves.